Can you remember the last time that you got some feedback? If we go back, I hope people can see the slides. All right, brilliant. Okay, if you go back to your kiddo days, can you remember the first time that you started riding a bicycle, or rather maybe a tricycle? Can you remember your mom or your dad was just standing right behind you and assuring that everything's going to be all right? And the moment probably you fell down, what would they say? They would say, "Brilliant, that was fantastic, and you are doing all right." And even can you remember maybe those artwork that you were doing? Probably might have not made much sense, but what were your parents would say? That it was a beautiful piece of art. As we start growing up, I think the expectations started increasing. In school, you have expectations to get better grades. And we got different kind of feedback in terms of, A pluses, or maybe, like ones on the low end. And it didn't stop at school or university or college. And then it went on to working, at work. When our performance, everything we do, we have been rated, we have been evaluated, we have been given feedback. And when the performance review comes in, and that's where we get a little feedback on a little bit of a harsh note. Once we look at things, two things to look at is how can we actually receive feedback on a positive note without being defensive, and to make sure that feedback can be taken into account on a positive note. And at the same time, how can we actually provide feedback to another person in a way that it's empowering, so the person feels like doing the work further. If we take it to a Toastmasters context, a speech project, or maybe any kind of a project assignment that people take up. I still remember my icebreaker speech evaluation. I continued with my speeches thanks to my icebreaker evaluator. That was DTM Udeni from IFS Toastmasters. And I believe an evaluation can make or break a person, because she empowered me to keep on going with my evaluations, with my speech projects. And I have received certain harsh feedback, and there's this one, the first time I started in the old track, you have this ACB, Advanced Communicator Bronze. And the first time I got the feedback, it was quite harsh, that the evaluator did not even write any feedback and said that I need to repeat the project. And I thought I would not do any speeches any further. And I took, I think, quite a long break, a couple of months. But then I thought, when I look back, feedback is what really drives Toastmasters. And feedback is the exact essence that keep us going, because that is, if at all, if there is any shortcut, the only shortcut for growth would be feedback. So I'm not going to focus a lot on the feedback, these evaluations per se, but when it comes to pathways, it's quite interesting how they have created this platform to make our pathways evaluations live of an evaluator a little more easy. All right, so today what we are focusing on is, let's have a look of what this pathways evaluations platform is about. Then let's try to see from the speaker's point of view and an evaluator's point of view, how do we prepare for a pathways evaluation when you receive the agenda from the VP Ed, and then you see that you are an evaluator for a pathways speech project, what are the steps that we could do to make sure that we do justice to our pathways speaker? And let's see how we can evaluate the project through pathways, and then how do we submit the evaluation for pathways project? So that has to be from the speaker's point of view, and also there are a few other options that are out there. So I will just walk you through on that. And please feel free to type anything on the chat if you have any questions. And here we go. All right, so people who are quite new, well, they wouldn't have seen this old curriculum. You will see on the screen on the left hand side where you had all of these physical books where you had for different speech, different levels. And now we have everything on Pathways platform. What you see on the right hand side, where you do not have physical copies unless you print them yourself, or you could even purchase the printed material. And we are going green. So we really can carry on this pathways project without printing. I still notice that most of us, even when it comes to a pathways evaluation, we have this tendency to take a print out of this evaluation sheet, and then give handwritten comments. We write all the feedback and then give it back to the speaker, and then the speaker will upload. I will go through on how we do that. But let's see, while they have made our life easy, why do we really have to take printouts and not make use of certain things that we might be able to do a little bit more easier? All right, so I have taken screen capture of the things. I will maybe I will cover this and then walk you through on Toastmasters the site. All right, now let's think from the role of the speaker. Now let's say I have to do my pathways icebreaker, and what I do is I go to Basecamp and I launch my navigator, the curriculum, and then I get hold of the screen you must have seen. So if I launch, okay, maybe I can. All right, so yeah, I thought of maybe doing it parallel. All right, so once you go to the TI site, so you have you have the pathways tab. In pathways tab, you can straight away go to the Basecamp, and once you go to the Basecamp, so I can open my curriculum. So my track, what I have chosen is effective coaching. So okay, I will, since maybe level 1 might be easy, because even when I started, I actually had I struggled a lot to move from icebreaker to the next project, because I didn't know that I didn't know that we had to complete this post evaluation and certain other uploading that we need to do. So because of that, I'll show with level 1. So for example, let's say I'm going to do my icebreaker, so then I can launch my project. Okay, so now from a speaker's point of view, what I need to give provide to my evaluator is this evaluation resource. Now, evaluation resource you can download, and I'll just open it up on. All right, I'm opening it up on Adobe Reader, because Adobe has this fill and sign. Even you can find this on Apple, and even Android. It's a free app where you can actually fill, complete your PDF documents, type your feedback, and this the button. This scoring, you can you can do it everything, and even sign. So signing, we don't need to when it comes to this Toastmasters speech projects. So I can actually fill out my details if I know my evaluator, who my evaluator is, the date and the speech title, and then I can save this, and I can download this as a so the PDF, and I can mail this to my evaluator. Now the evaluator, I'm going back to the slides. All right. So so as a speaker, what I did was I downloaded the evaluation resource, because that is what I need to give if I'm the speaker. So the role as a speaker is I need to make sure my evaluator has the evaluation resource. So I got hold of that, and then I send it to the evaluator. Now I'm changing roles to evaluator. Now, if I'm the evaluator, so okay, for example, let's say I'm taking Nisal, DTM Nisal, as my evaluator for this particular example, let's say. What Nisal would do is, it would be nice if Nisal can talk to me, and just to make sure that I feel comfortable about my icebreaker, pathways icebreaker. And to also, it's always good to have a chat before the speaker does the speech project, because sometimes just to make sure that the objectives are clear, and also to make sure that both the evaluator and the speaker are on the same page. And also sometimes the speaker, for example, now I would ask Nisal to keep a tab on maybe a little bit of extra certain things. For example, on my fillers, let's say I have this filler, or a couple of ers. I want Nisal to keep track of that in addition to the speech objective. So if there's anything specific, it's always good, as evaluators, we check with the speaker if we are on the same page, and if there's anything particular they want us to go through. And so Nisal is my evaluator, and he will so I will send the evaluation resource to Nisal, and then obviously he will go through the evaluation resource. But now sometimes we always come across, let's say I myself as a speaker, I get really busy and I forget to send the evaluation resource to Nisal. And Nisal has been probably trying to contact me, and maybe I'm not responding. And then how will Nisal get hold of the evaluation resource? So for this, even the evaluator can download this evaluation resource from Toastmasters Basecamp. So I'll show you how we get that done. So I'm going back to, all right, so say on the Toastmasters site, so I have these resources, and I have the resource library, resources tab, resource library, and here I can search for evaluation resources. So that's one place. If not, I go back to Pathways Basecamp. Pathways Basecamp, and here I have speech evaluations. So I can search for, let's say, sorry, icebreaker. So if I say icebreaker, it once again opens up. So I can launch the evaluation resource for icebreaker because it has all the other. So the only thing I need to know, only thing Nisal needs to know as the evaluator is what is my level and what is that specific project I'm actually going to do. So if it is my level 1 second project is evaluation and feedback, so evaluation resource 1, so then there's second one, and then research and planning. So likewise, Nisal can find out the evaluation resource that is needed to do the evaluation. All right, getting back to our slides. All right, so now we are set right before the meeting. So both the speaker and the evaluator, we are all good. The evaluator is having the evaluation resource, and so this is exactly what I walked through. So we can go to Basecamp and get the speech evaluations, or you can go to the resource library and then search for it. And now I'll just quickly walk through on the evaluation form. So usually evaluation form will come in 3 pages. So the first page is where you have the member name, the evaluator, the date, the title, and a few general comments. It's quite simple on pathways evaluations because here you just have to talk about what you excelled and what the speaker needs to work on, and something that needs to be challenged. Now, so excel that basically the positive points, and what you may want to work on are the areas for improvement. And when it comes to challenge, this is my favorite section in this pathways evaluation form, because you have so many areas, we have so many areas to probably work on. But let's say what is that one thing that, let's say, Nisal as the evaluator want to see me, the speaker, improving by my next immediate speech project. So if there's particular thing that I want to work on, Nisal can identify that as like a challenge. We love challenges. I mean, I think when it comes to games, or we love to take a challenge. If it's something challenging, we are more driven. So that's an interesting area. Pathways evaluations have particularly pointed out compared to the old curriculum. Like this. Then the second page is the scoring. So a lot more easy. This is pretty much in line with the training and development. If anyone is into training, HR, I think this competency. So because we identify certain skills. For example, now here they have identified the skills of clarity, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, audience awareness, comfort level. So these are different skills or quality areas, characteristics. But then just knowing a certain, I can't just say, okay, so I had clarity, I had vocal variety. What do you mean? What do you mean that I had vocal variety, or I had audience awareness? So this is why we need to have a competency. Competency is where we check the standard, the level where the speaker is in terms of clarity or audience awareness or comfort level. So this is why we give a rating. So rating, just like rating is nothing new. So in this particular case, they have mentioned 1 to 5. So 1 is on the lower end and 5 is on the high end. So if I have been doing quite good on my, for example, vocal variety, Nisal might rate me at a 5. And maybe if my gestures were a little distracting and probably I have something to improve on, maybe Nisal would rate me maybe 3. But now how would Nisal know as the evaluator okay, what is the difference between 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2, and what is the difference between a 4 and a 3. Now this is why we have a third page. The third page has the evaluation criteria. Now the evaluation criteria is where it gives the guideline of what each of these competency levels mean. For example, we said 5 is exemplary. So that means I should be pretty good with my clarity. So that means it is an exemplary public speaker who is always understood. 4 is excels at communicating using the spoken word. Third is spoken language is clear and is easily understood. So in terms of a speech speaker, how clear am I when I'm communicating my message, the clarity in my message. So it clearly talks about, for example, let's say the spoken language is unclear or not easily understood at all. Because I have not experienced this in Sri Lanka, but overseas, once you deal with certain individuals, they are, I mean, it's because of the dialect and the accent, it's sometimes a little difficult to understand, and because of that, sometimes the clarity of the message might be diluted. So then probably that is coming under number 1. So likewise, you can rate if you're not sure whether, okay, so what is the difference between interest or comfort level 3 and a 4, confidence level. So 2 is appears uncomfortable with the audience. So if I, as the speaker, I tend to have this a little bit of nervousness, and maybe my nervousness is shown. Maybe I'm fidgeting, maybe I have some unnecessary hand gestures, or maybe I'm trying to avoid the eye contact. So then Nisal, my evaluator, would say, okay, so I seem to appear uncomfortable with the audience. So maybe Nisal should be rating me on a number 2. But let's say I appear to be fully at ease with the audience. I feel very comfortable, and then that's a 4. And 5 is that is like that is even beyond. So obviously, when it comes to certain, this is perception. I mean, for example, how cheesy as an evaluator look at me in terms of confidence. Maybe he might be having higher standards, and he would think, no, my comfort level is standing at a 4. But let's say maybe another person might think, no, maybe this pretty good. So maybe the comfort level is 5. So this is subjective, because evaluation is always subjective. But the whole idea is they have given a guideline to reduce this ambiguity, where we have certain gray areas. What is the difference between a 5 and a 4 and a 3? Because if the person is actually uncomfortable, the person cannot be given anything above 2, because here it says 2 is the speaker appears uncomfortable with the audience. So it gives us a clear guideline, and it's very important sometimes, without just blindly filling this, to go through this guideline and just to identify what are the demarcated areas. And so this is where we give a certain score in the second page for each of the competency levels. So we give a competency in the score out of 5. And we can do this in Adobe Fill and Sign. So I'll just show, right? So let's say I'm going to say Weerakoon is going to be my evaluator, and let's say I'm going to have my speech title. And so, okay, so this I send it. Let's say now from Nisal's point of view, he can type whatever the areas of improvement. So I mean, it's very easy. Other than taking a printout, if you have your mobile phone, depending on the mobile phone screen, sometimes it might be a little difficult with the screen size. But let's say if you have a laptop, if you have a tab, it's quite easy. I have tried this. It makes your life easy. I mean, on the laptop, that's like the best case. And when it comes to the scoring, you just click on where the person needs to stand. And this scoring, it is mandatory that we score for every area. But comments, of course, you can decide. The evaluator can decide. There is no mandatory requirement that we have to give a comment for every area. But let's say, for example, if the person needs to improve on certain areas, maybe it's good to give a comment. Okay, why I'm actually standing at a 3 and not maybe a 4. So maybe some area of improvement can be actually given. And maybe like if I'm really good, maybe what was really good in terms of my comfort level. So maybe you can give an area of improvement. If I was not that great, how can I actually do better? So you can use this space for comments, and you can save it. And once you save it, you can straight away mail it back to the speaker. Going back to our slides. All right, so this is the rating that we went through, and usually they have this 1 to 5. So 5 is exemplary, like it's like exceptional, and 4 is like really good. I have excelled. 3 is average. So I have passed. I have accomplished, but I could. There is potential for me to improve. And 2 is I'm emerging, but I have not got there yet. And 1 is, I'm still a starter. So I mean, this is more or less same across, just that from particular competency that have been chosen, so exemplary level, what they are looking at would be a little different. But this is, I think, quite self-explanatory, I hope. I think it's very similar to the performance appraisal, certain scoring you have, outstanding, um, not up to the mark, likewise. All right, so so this is something not only specific to pathways evaluation. That was given. Yeah, I hope I can be heard. So these are little basics, because as the evaluator, it's always nice to smile, because the last thing the speaker wants to hear from the evaluator is the speaker has done bad. For example, let's say I know I have probably screwed my speech, and then the last thing I want to hear from my evaluator, Nisal, is that I have entirely screwed the speech. It's all about how we can actually empower, how the evaluator can empower the speaker. So smiling is always quite good. It makes the speaker feel a lot more comfortable. And structure, we should not forget, as an evaluator, we need to have an opening, and then the body and the ending. And one easy guideline we can follow is just like the pathways, the first page, if you can remember, where you talk about where the speaker excelled, where the speaker needs to work on, and then the challenges. So you can actually follow that, and if there are any particular areas while you are talking about it, you can highlight, so as to follow the structure. Then we should always remember our choice of words, and evaluation is always subjective, and it is only one person's personal opinion. We should try to take the focus in terms of you focus to I focus as an evaluator's point of view. For example, if I want the speaker to work on, let's say maybe the eye contact. You did not maintain eye contact. You did not connect with the audience. It sounds a little rude, and sometimes it might be a little difficult for the speaker to absorb. But what if I say, I felt, in my humble opinion, that I would suggest, I would have liked if you had connected with me, if you had looked at me when you were talking or sharing about your personal experience. I would have connected more. Always give suggestions in your personal opinion, because it's one personal opinion only. The speaker always has the power of decision to either take the feedback or not. From the evaluator's point of view, it's about trying to see how we can actually do a good job in terms of empowering and making sure the person takes up this feedback on a positive note and improve for the person to grow. And always we should remember that we need to boost the self-esteem and then try to give this challenge. And that's first the challenge part I was talking about in pathways evaluation. Because end of the day, why we come for Toastmasters and why because this is we don't get paid for doing speeches. We pay our dues, and what we want is we want everyone to grow from one level to another, from one level, one speech project to another, because it's like we are going in this journey and we want everyone to improve. And to do that, we need to encourage people around us. And as an evaluator, this is one opportunity we have to boost the self-esteem of people. Sometimes the person might be doing the speech after quite a long time, because I know a lot of now I have restarted on my pathways. Pathways journey. So I have started on level 2, and I'm quite slow compared to my old curriculum. And I know some individuals where people have just done the icebreaker pathways icebreaker, and that's it. They have taken a little bit of a break. So sometimes the speaker might be doing a speech after some time, and the whole idea is to empower this speaker to actually do speeches more often. So then and introduce a challenge. So then the speaker is compelled to looking forward to do the next speech project. So that's quite important. And well, obviously we need to know where the speaker is, and this is more into especially if you are going in, let's say maybe as a guest or sometimes even in the evaluation contest. And we should always remember we should evaluate the speech and not the speaker, because speaker is a person, but what we are evaluating as an evaluator is the speech that was delivered on that particular day to that particular audience. And what we need to see is what is that speech purpose, and whether the speech purpose is actually meeting the objectives of the particular speech project objectives. And when we are giving feedback, we need to be specific and give examples and also show how the person can improve, because sometimes it's easy for us to tell, okay, your vocal variety is something you need to work on. What do I have to really work on? Is it my loudness? Is it that I am having the same pace? Is it because I'm not having enough of pauses? Is it when I was having that conversation, that dialogue, maybe I need to change my tone? What is it exactly that I need to work on? For areas to improve, this applies for areas for improvement and also for the positives, because sometimes positives we might need to point out and tell why it was effective was because of this reason. When you use that particular hand gesture, when you were talking about this school incident, it really connected. Or maybe your use of prop for certain scene was effective. It's to share that this actually worked. So it's always good to be specific and tell them how they can improve mainly, because it's always easy for us to point out and tell, I think you need to work on the stage usage. I think the structure was not fitting. The message could have been better laid out. But how? We need to always address how the person could have done better. And giving examples doesn't mean that we should never repeat the speaker, because the speaker already knows the speech. And why are we trying to quote the speaker? The whole idea is we just need to give a pointer. The point where you were talking about your childhood example, the point where you were talking about, so we just give them a point, an indicator. So then the person knows, all right, the speaker will know, okay, so in my speech it is this point that I need to work on. And always we should not forget that summary at the end of a speech is important. Because why we need to have a summary is because sometimes when we tell a lot of positives or areas for improvement, we might miss out on certain important things. So summary is where we do a quick recap on the areas that that I need to work on, the speaker needs to work on, or maybe the speaker did quite well. Now, the role of the evaluator, so during the meeting, is obviously to provide the comments and give rating, and then give the verbal evaluation like we talked about, and then finally return the evaluation resource. And the evaluator's job is formally is over at this point. You can maybe have a word if there's anything in particular as the evaluator you want to tell or share with the speaker. I mean, other than the printed version, what you can do is it's very easy if you can save it and then maybe share it or mail it back to the or I mean because it's a PDF document. So PDF document, whether it's WhatsApp, Gmail, email, or you just somehow just share the PDF. Now the next aspect is, after the speech project, how would a speaker upload this? Because what is not happening, in my opinion, what I have seen is people actually take up all of these evaluation, but they don't do anything about it. The traditional approach is probably they are taking a photo of this written feedback evaluation and then upload it into this e-portfolio. My suggestion is to I'll show you my e-portfolio where it's all typed. It's all typed and then uploaded. So I'm going to go back to Basecamp. All right, so now I'm back to my role speaker. So what right, I'm going to close my initial. All right, so when I go to my e-portfolio, this is where I upload. So my e-portfolio, I'll just show. So for all the levels, they have a designated folders. So these were not folders that were created by me. So once you go to e-portfolio in your page, the Basecamp profile. So for example, let's say level 1. So these were the projects that I have uploaded. I'll show you my icebreaker evaluation. So this is a PDF. So so these are all typed. So these were the comments made by my evaluator, and then the scoring. And maybe I'll show you another one. So you have the. So now I repeated my the researching and planning project. So I have two PDFs. So this is more of like an archive. So you keep track of your speech evaluation. So I mean there is, at least as of now, so far, Toastmasters, they are not keeping track of whether what is actually written in these, or if the person is actually just uploading a photo. In my understanding, they do not do any tracking as such. So as of one of the Toastmasters values, we need to maintain our integrity. So it's about how we make sure that we keep track of things. So this is another speech evaluation. So in my opinion, this is an easier way to go green, other than having to print it out. So the person just fills this on Adobe Fill and Sign. There are other apps as well, but Adobe Fill and Sign is free, and it's the editor for mainly PDF. And then I just upload it into my portfolio. And so once that's done, so level 1, once I have completed everything, then my so the Basecamp manager, my VP8, can, and especially for level 1, let's say for example, you have a post evaluation that you need to take up after each, like a post assessment. whether there's this checklist that whether I have completed it or not. Once I have completed, and these are all here, my VP Ed, the Basecamp manager, can make sure that I have completed, so then I can proceed with level 2, because otherwise I will not see my level 2, because sorry. So in my transcript, if I open the curriculum, so level 1, and then otherwise level 2 I will not be able to launch. So that's my role as the speaker. Okay, so that's it when it comes to the evaluation process. So finally, as a speaker, I have so I can go to my feedback, right? Once I go to my feedback, I see this, and if I have received any badges, I will see that as well. So that's where I upload my evaluation resource. Yeah, so the same thing I showed. I have just included screen capture. So manual gear is what many I have seen are doing, is you print the PDF, you write handwritten, give handwritten comments, the scoring, and then the speaker will have to take a photo, either as an image file or convert it to PDF, and then upload it to the same e-portfolio under feedback. And second is what I actually showed you right now, is to use Adobe Fill and Sign. You have it as a mobile app, on tab, on laptop, PC, howsoever you want to do it. It's quite easy. It's just like a basic editor. And there's this other option where in addition to my evaluator, I can, let's say I'm the speaker. In addition to Nisal, I want to get some feedback from a couple of my other club members. So I can do that with Pathways. So that's quite interesting. So there's this tab called Feedback. So I'll once again move on to curriculum. Okay, so on Basecamp, I go to Feedback. And so as you could see, so transcript was where I was, e-portfolio was, where I have got my document archive and the badges, transcript use. So, and then feedback. Feedback is, I can request for feedback. For example, so here I have this, I can search for example, now I'm only a member at Pinnacle, so I can search for members. So here I can select whom I want to include. So this lists all the club members. For example, let's say Nisal was just visiting our club, and he was the evaluator, and so we have multiple evaluations that are taking place, and maybe I wanted to get some feedback on my speech from, let's say, DTM Krishanti, so I can add her up, and let's say maybe from Rehan, so I add them up, and okay, I can say done, and then they will be listed, and so if I want, I can write some. Finally, give me feedback on my Pathways level 1 speech project. So any message that you want to give in. I'm not going to post this because otherwise they must be wondering why I'm actually sending all of these requests. And if there's anything, any attachments you want to send, that is also possible, and then you post it. So and you can also, let's say the request response, I can select whether it's only the manager, so that is the VP Ed, or I want everyone to see request responses. So I can select that. So that's one interesting area. And so that's from the point of view from so the speaker I can request, and yeah, so this is what I did. All right, and I can also search. I can also search so for people, and let's say I want to yeah, so from the evaluator's point of view. So earlier, what I showed was the speaker's point of view. From the evaluator's point of view, I can go to feedback, and then list down like what is it that I want to. So let's say if I'm the evaluator. So sorry, the listed ones I mentioned was, let's say, DTM Krishanti and DTM Rehan. So then they can share the feedback from their pathways view, and also they could give a badge. So these are just recognition where and this will be shown in your e-portfolio, like you saw in the one I mentioned. So that's about it. So I'm gonna just delete this for now. And okay, I'll show you how, let's say if whether anyone has listed me as a feedback request. So I have this ellipsis. I can just view all my feedback requests. So, and so this was one I have, and then I can go into it and share the feedback. So that's what those are the main areas we have to cover. So what we did was we explored what this pathways evaluation platform is about on the Basecamp, and how can we prepare for an pathways evaluation from the speaker's point of view and evaluator's point of view, and the process, and as an evaluator, how can we evaluate a project through pathways, and then how a speaker can submit an evaluation for a pathways project. And also there was also the other option where the speaker can request for feedback from external members, other members other than the evaluator. So they could also give certain feedback, and so and those members, just like I showed, they can also view the request and then give feedback and badges as well. And that's all you need to know for pathways evaluations. And let's give it our best shot to go green, because they have made an effort to make our lives easy. And I feel it's a lot more easier, other than having to print out and waste a lot of sheets trying to record all this feedback. And that's about it. If there are any questions, we have another 10 minutes left.
I think we don't have any questions, Chathura. And
Okay.
one of the questions which was raised was, I think I answered it. Will all the projects have something similar, that numbering process? So I think that I answered, saying for all the projects there will be numbering process, but that numbering might vary the content which they have put down, depend on the project.
Yeah.
Yes, I think other than that, we don't have any questions at the moment. So I think we can conclude the session. So thank you, Chatura, for a wonderful session and sharing all your knowledge with all of us. So thank you for all the participations for participating for both the trainings yesterday and today. So hope you all learned something new and looking forward.
Yeah, and just one
Yeah.
last thing, Nisal, and pathways for evaluations. I mean, for pathways, the basic base camp and this navigation evaluation, there are a lot of video resources that are out there on the Toastmaster site. So, I mean, people can actually go through. They have this video recorded and like something like video tutorials. So that's quite easy. I mean, that's how I also learned on certain things when I was clueless initially. So I think that's something that's another area people can actually explore.
Yes, I think a lot of pathways tutorials are there in YouTube
Mm.
because it's new, and yeah. So I think yeah.
Okay, cool.
And if there are any questions, please reach out to Chatur or me as well. We are happy to help
Yeah.
all of you with the pathways related questions because we all know pathways is new and it will be the
Mm.
future. So we need to
Yeah.
get prepared and get used to pathways. So
Mm.
I think with that we can conclude. Thanks again, Chatur, for spending time
Yeah.
and
So thanks
sharing
for the opportunity
your
and
knowledge. And yeah,
happy pathways evaluations, everyone.
yes, thank you everyone. Good night. Take care.
Good night. Take care. Bye.